Well, happy Tuesday. I can tell you guys one thing. The powers that be really did not like our episode yesterday because after we crossed 500,000 views in less than 5 hours, suddenly we got hit on YouTube with this bizarre age restriction. We've never been hit with that ever before. It said that we somehow violated the policy on graphic violence and nudity. I mean, what? We literally just read Kamala's book and pointed out a major discrepancy. Mainly that her grandmother, who she produced a photo of herself with, happened to die before Kamala was born. So yeah, seems a little odd, just asking questions here. Well, today we were able to secure the birth certificates and the death certificates and some marriage certificates, which confirm that Kamala either made a huge mistake, all by accident, or she outright lied because she wanted to convince the public that she was Black. Do not go away, you guys, because this is about to get crazy. Welcome back to Candace. All right, so let's recap. Yesterday, I can admit I was completely triggered. I was triggered by the manner in which the Guardian, or a Guardian reporter rather, treated Janet Jackson in a profile piece. It was very obvious they were trying to do the wacko jacko bit again, like they did with her brother. So to remind you, Janet Jackson brought up in her interview human trafficking, child trafficking, and the journalist then decided to heavily imply that Janet Jackson was just nuts to pretend that we have a child trafficking issue in this country. And then when the reporter switched gears and asked her about supporting Kamala Harris as the first female Black president, Hollywood's all got to get in line and support this woman or else, Janet Jackson simply said that she had heard that Kamala was not Black and that she was in fact Irish, and the media predictably went completely crazy. I mean, here are some of the headlines here. NBC, Janet Jackson tells interviewer she's heard Kamala Harris is not Black, echoing election disinformation. Oh, love that word. Newsweek, Janet Jackson's Kamala Harris remarks spark Black backlash. The Independent, she's not Black. Janet Jackson makes shocking comments about Kamala Harris's heritage. And of course, the New York Times, Janet Jackson repeats false claims about Kamala Harris's race. False claims. So to be clear, all Janet Jackson said was, quote, "That's what I heard, that she's Indian, that her father's white. That's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days. I was told that they discovered that her father was white." Okay? That is all that she said that led to all of this craziness in the media trying to paint her like she was some sort of a psycho. And then her manager, a guy named Mo Elmarzi that I'm showing you a picture of here, he offered an apology on Janet Jackson's behalf to BuzzFeed. He said, quote, "Janet Jackson would like to clarify her recent comments. She recognizes that her statements regarding Vice President Kamala Harris's racial identity were based on misinformation. Janet respects Harris's dual heritage as both Black and Indian and apologizes for any confusion caused. She values the diversity that Harris represents and understands the importance of celebrating that in today's society. Janet remains committed to promoting unity and understanding," end quote. And guess what happened? Janet Jackson fired him immediately and said that he was not authorized to make that statement at all, and she was not apologizing because she was not sorry, and good for her. I'm glad she fired him. I am so tired of people being so fake, having to apologize for something that should not have yielded any response from the media. In fact, it should have been the opposite. They should have went ahead and investigated the claim that Kamala Harris is Black, gotten to the bottom of it fully. But instead, it was a media pylon. And then, after being fired, Mo added to that pylon by referring to Janet Jackson as unbalanced. Like the person who just worked for her came out and was like, she's unbalanced. I mean, with friends like that, who needs enemies? Then came me. I don't know. I guess I really am the person that has been in these streets, Kamala, because I decided to simply look into her genealogy. Because why on earth is the world trying to convince me that this woman is suddenly Black? Like they just decided she was Black because she's running and because there is evidence, it is true, that her father grew up in Jamaica. Your race does not magically change because of where you grow up, okay? If I grow up in Sweden, I don't get to suddenly say I'm white, okay? And what I discovered was quite startling. Now, I'll ask you, when did you first get the idea that Kamala was Black? Well, you'll say, yeah, when she kind of started running with Joe Biden. And that claim really came from Kamala herself. When they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, they understood that. Kamala Harris published a book in 2019 called The Truth That We Hold. And presumably the book was filled with truth that she was holding. I had a look through it, and I saw this picture of her and her grandmother, clearly a Black-looking grandmother, on page 282 in the photograph section. It reads, as you can see, visiting my paternal grandmother, Beryl, in Jamaica. Also on that same page, there's another photo of her. Again, you can see it's black and white. I'm not quite sure why it is black and white, but it says, when I was 10 months old, I visited Spanish Town, Jamaica. This is me with my mother and my paternal grandfather, Oscar Joseph. And now this guy looks mixed. He looks Asian of some description, but you can see the idea here is that she's definitely trying to introduce, in a manner of photos, things that make her race look more complicated. So I just decided to investigate that, and immediately things got weird, very weird. First and foremost, because it was very easy for me to determine via just a light search online that Beryl, her alleged paternal grandmother that you just saw, died 4 years before Kamala was born in 1960. So last night we decided to continue our research to see if we could find birth certificates and marriage certificates and death certificates, which could further signify those points, and indeed it did. And it also raised even more questions about her genealogy. So let's go through those. Here is the birth certificate for her paternal grandmother. This is Kamala's paternal grandmother, Beryl. Okay, now you can see on this birth certificate that Beryl is spelled with an I. It's Beryl Magdalene. And you can see the reason why we know this is the correct Beryl is because the mother is listed as Iris Finnegan. Later on, we're going to show you in the book, she names Iris Finnegan as her great grandmother. So that would be Beryl's mother. So we have the right woman. Also, formerly, her maiden name is Allen. That is true. It also says here that she's born in October of 1917 in St. Anne. That's the St. Anne parish of Jamaica. And again, you can see it says that it is signed by Iris Finnegan. Very clearly, this is the woman that we are looking for. This is Kamala's grandmother, alleged grandmother, Beryl. It's also interesting, by the way, that it lists her great-grandmother as a seamstress because Donald Harris, Kamala's father, wrote in a 2020 piece called Reflections of a Jamaican Father, quote, Miss Iris, that again would be his grandmother, was the mother of 8 children, too, was the sweetest and gentlest person one could meet, but underneath it was a tough farming woman who ran the cane farm at Thatch Walk near Annan Town, jointly owned with her husband, Mr. Christie. Okay, that's weird. So you're telling me that she ran a farm because on that birth certificate it says that actually Iris was a seamstress, but whatever. Let's just park that aside for a second and stick with Beryl, this woman who died before Kamala was born, okay? Because I was feeling pretty certain that not too many people were going to be named Beryl and be born in the St. Anne parish of Jamaica in 1917 to a mother named Iris Finnegan. I felt confident that we could find a little bit more data, and in fact, we did, okay? First, we stumbled across Beryl's marriage certificate, okay? So you can see that right here, and now the name spelling has changed. You have Beryl Finnegan spelled with a Y in the same way that Kamala spells it, and it lists their married date as 1944. Again, you can see the parish that is listed is St. Anne Parish. This is where every piece of Beryl's life seems to take place. It reads here that her calling is a barmaid. And something that jumped out at me was the fact that she's married to someone, as you can see, named Lawford Newland. Okay, so Beryl apparently was married more than once because Lawford Newland is not Donald Harris's father, but Beryl is his mother. So just to be clear, again, it says that she married a guy named Lawford Newland in 1944 when she was 25 years old, okay? It's important to note that that would have been 4 years after she gave birth to Donald Harris, Kamala's father. I find that to be very strange. Also, regarding Kamala's father, We cannot seem to locate, regarding Lawland Newland, the person that she married, we can't find him. Can't find him anywhere. We cannot find a birth certificate. We cannot find a death certificate. We can't find a news item or otherwise. I cannot find this alleged Lawford Newland that apparently her grandma got married to. We also can't find a wedding certificate for Beryl and Oscar Wilde Joseph Brown Harris. That is allegedly supposed to be Donald Harris's father. Okay, so Kamala's grandfather is Oscar Wilde Joseph Brown Harris, and we can't find a marriage certificate between the two of them. That's very strange. As speculated, we were able to confirm that Kamala's Black grandmother that she showed us in that picture died in 1960, before Kamala was born. I can show you right now her death certificate. Let's take a look at Beryl's death certificate, which confirms. As you can see there, it says that she died in July of 1960. It also tells us on the right-hand side, you guys will probably have to zoom in on this, but she died of a uterine infection, uterine fibroids due to a hysterectomy. It has her listed as 39 years. That's actually a couple of years off from 1917, so somebody may have gotten their math wrong here. But you once again see that it lists her birthplace as St. Anne. And so this is a huge scandal. Just an absolutely huge scandal. Kamala Harris published in her book that she was standing next to her Grandma Beryl. But Grandma Beryl died in 1960, 4 years before Kamala Harris was born. So who the hell is the real Beryl? Who is that woman standing next to Kamala Harris? And do you know what I noticed about that woman standing next to her? She looks a lot like the woman that Kamala claims in her book is her great-grandmother, Iris. Now, that's Iris Finnegan. Here's the book with my great-grandmother, Iris Finnegan in Jamaica. Now, I'm going to give you the side-by-side of Iris and her alleged daughter, Beryl, who died at 39. Now, that woman on the right is not 39 years old. She's clearly much more advanced in her age. I mean, we know black don't crack. I mean, that's just a scientific fact. So I would put that woman on the right-hand side, who she tried to pass off as Beryl, and I think is the exact same person. I would say that that woman looks to be about 65. And then it looks like she's more advanced on the left-hand side. The great-grandmother, that's the same person. When I just believe my own eyes, we're looking at the same person. What do you guys think when you look at those photos? How the hell does a person who is the vice president of the United States pass off a book, claim that these people that are in her book are her black relatives, and nobody bats an eyelash or does even a peripheral search to recognize that the woman that she put forth is implausibly her grandmother? And by the way, I'm going to say this and people can be offended, but the first thing that I thought when I saw the photo of her sitting on her great-grandmother's lap was that this doesn't look like a grandparent affection going on here. Like, this woman looks like she could be working for the family. Quite literally, I thought to myself, this woman looks like she could be the help. And I thought that because there's a lack of affection there. Do you know what I mean? But there's no, like, in both of the photos, there's a lack of affection. It's just like a woman standing next to her. And I obviously know that that was a circumstance. When you're talking about a family that had a ton of plantations, which is the reality. She descends from Irish slavers. That is a fact that Kamala Harris cannot deny. She descends from wealthy Irish slavers who virtually they did own the town. They named the town. It was Hamilton Town, and then it was Brownstown in Jamaica. He had over 1,000 slaves, okay? It would follow that there would be help around the house. And I'm just going to put here as a question mark, not as a fact. If they're looking at some of these photos of people who became like family and they're trying to pass them off like relatives, again, not a fact, a huge question mark, but my instinct tells me that that person is actually not her family member. And if it is, well, Kamala's got some explaining to do. How did she meet Grandma Beryl almost 20 years after Grandma Beryl died? Because Kamala Harris looks to be about 20 in that photo that she presented. Then there's another bit of a mystery, as I said. If Beryl married after her or before her wedding when she was 25 years old to the missing Newland. If anybody can find Newland, please let me know. But if Beryl married at some point Oscar Wilde Joseph Brown, where is their marriage certificate? And where is their divorce certificate? Again, I'm only prodding the narrative here because I'm going to need proof that she's Black. The media has now made this a thing, and now you made it so much of a thing that you're attacking people like Janet Jackson when she asks a very reasonable question that you should be able to respond to. And now we have a verifiable lie that Kamala Harris told in her book, or a big uh-oh, because, you know, if I'm being nice, I guess sometimes you think when you're publishing a book that it's a photo of you and your grandmother that you never met or never could have met. Maybe Kamala was just confused and thought it was her grandma, but it was a grandmother that she had, again, never met. Media should be on this, and they should be asking her this question. How did you make this significant of a blunder in your book? And isn't it quite ironic that every photo that you have presented, two of which look like they're the exact same person, one aged on, which begs the question, is that even Kamala Harris in her lap? I don't know. Again, we're at the beginning of this investigation. But it's interesting that amongst all of the relatives, so many Irish white slavers, the only photos that she chose to put in this book are the ones that make it look as though she might be Black. And we have just significantly and without question debunked one of those photos. Also, there's something else that I notice about Beryl and Oscar, this alleged married couple, right? Our alleged husband and wife. Each of them are listed as having a lot of siblings. Oscar's siblings are named Hildred May Harris, Newton Alexander Harris, and Ina Doreen Harris. I cannot find a single photo of these siblings. Now, why am I looking for it? Well, because people take family photos all the time. Tons of this stuff is on the internet. I mean, one of those people lived until 2005. Ina Doreen Harris allegedly lived until 2005. I would just like to see a photo to confirm that these are Black relatives. I just want to confirm their race. Can't find a trace. Similarly for Beryl Finnegan has siblings too. Their names are Abraham Judah Finnegan, Noah Pendergast Finnegan, Bernard Washington Finnegan, and Gloria Eugenie Hill. Where are they? Or where are any photos of them, presuming that they've passed? Where are the photos of them? They've got to be somewhere, right? Something very suspicious is going on. I don't know how it is plausible, guys. Do not allow the media to gaslight us. It is not difficult, okay, for a person that is running for president of the United States to have a tidy background. This is my mom. This is my dad. This is my grandma. That it always seems to be the case that right before they run, they introduce like one or two photos that they allege are from their childhood. This is my grandma. This is my mom. And if you ask any more questions, I'm going to scream at you and call you a racist, is completely ridiculous. We now have a scandal on our hands, okay? And again, this is the tip of the iceberg. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep looking for these relatives. I'm going to confirm that all of these people are in fact Black. I find it strange, just as a little tidbit, that when you go on these genealogy websites, you can see that there's somebody managing the profile. All of the people that are managing the profile for Kamala's relatives are white. What interest would white people around the United States have in managing the profile for this Jamaica family? Unless what Janet Jackson said was true, and that these are her white Irish relatives, and she's been hiding that fact by trying to introduce some random photos of a woman and purporting that that woman is her grandmother. Again, if she's been with you throughout your entire life, Kamala, you could drop some more photos, but no matter what, you lied in your book, okay? You lied in your book. That woman died in 1960, and you were born in 1964, and I find that to be extremely problematic. Like I said, I'm in these streets, just like you, Kamala. So if you want to come out and tell the truth, I'm going to be on this. Otherwise, you might as well come up with your storyline, because I don't tend to let go when I have the scent of somebody who's telling a lie. All right, guys, we will pause there. I want to remind you about Goldco. This election season has been insane. We really don't know who is going to win in November, least of all this information now coming out about Kamala. But there is one thing that I do know. I'm still going to buy gold and silver. The United States has $35 trillion in debt, and a foreign country likely controls our government. There's no better time to protect your money and savings while you still can. You can go to CandaceLikesGold.com. You'll learn about the top-rated precious metals company, Goldco, and how they can help you. They are a great company that is top-rated with over 6,000 five-star reviews and a whole bunch of awards. Not only do they support my show, my listeners can get up to a 10% instant match in bonus silver on qualified orders. So if you're worried about your money losing value or you just want to buy some precious metals that you can physically hold, go to Goldco. Visit CandaceLikesGold.com. That's CandaceLikesGold.com. Okay, got to cover this because I always cover her because I think she's an interesting case study. And it really, for me, I believe that there's a lot of reasons that I believe that Hollywood is problematic, but it is the targeting of children when you learn the history of Hollywood and just seeing the way that the pursuit of cameras and the pursuit of fame can warp somebody's brain. I mean, we're seeing a very distinct pattern here of child actresses kind of going off of the deep end. And there's a reason for that. You know, you look at, I mean, Amanda Bynes, Demi Lovato, Britney Spears, over and over again, we have these child stars and they just go wayward. Well, JoJo Siwa, I believe, is an example worth speaking about. I'm not saying that she's crazy or off the deep end, but I am saying that she seems to be screaming for attention, and she's finally acknowledged that. You know, she came out and said that I would not be allowed to come on her podcast. But now she's totally agreeing with me in this interview that she did for Lady Gun magazine. So here is the cover. I want to show you that. You can see that she's got some abs going on, bedazzled abs, if you will. And she's also decided to give herself some junk, right? This is kind of the new her. She wants everyone to know that she's a lesbian and there are some androgynous aspects. Here's a second photo of that. So you can just see how far she is going in terms of trying to look like she is packing a lady gun. Get it? Ha ha ha. Like, it's a lady gun. I'm so clever and I'm so deep, except I'm not deep at all. And this is, like I said, just the same shallow waters that all of these Hollywood types tread. And the reality is they think they're so deep and they think they're so artistic. It's like when you go to the MoMA and you see a toilet and they're trying to convince you that it's deep and it's thoughtful and it's like, oh, it's modern art. And it's like, no, it's crap. It's literal crap. You're never going to convince me that this is art. You're never going to convince me that crap is food, okay? And that's kind of the world that we live in, that they're trying to constantly try to make you think that it's more complex and you should pause and you should think. And the reality is all I see when I look at JoJo is a tremendously manufactured star that's crying for attention. And so it's great that the title of this article that she did for this profile is JoJo Siwa on manufacturing attention, dissociating, and escaping the persona. And the person who's interviewing her comes right out and says, you're like the master of the attention economy. And JoJo says, thank you. I'm an attention whore. And this is from the article, JoJo sees herself as a curator of attention. This is when I say it's like they're trying to be deep, but they're saying nothing. I'm a curator of attention. Like, shut up. Just stop. I just cannot stand this. They're just so shallow. There is no intellect here. But damn if they're not going to try to convince people that are reading this that it's so much deeper. She's a curator of attention, collecting the internet's energy and perceptions. She gives kudos to brothers Jake and Logan Paul, who transformed YouTube into a content farm and gained notoriety for their controversial stunts and videos. She says, quote, I pulled so much of my social media marketing and inspiration from them back in the day because when I was 13, 14, 15, they were all that I wanted to be on YouTube. Their views, their numbers, their marketing, they were geniuses. They still are geniuses. But the things they did, all I wanted to do was be them. And so I figured, how can I do that, but in my world? My favorite thing to do on this earth is to entertain and to make people smile and laugh, whether or not they are laughing with me or laughing at me. Obviously, no one likes being hated, but I enjoy being entertaining, and that is how people are entertained. She goes on to say, I definitely disassociate well. It's a special talent, for sure. So whatever moment I'm in it for that moment. Once it's done, though, I'll be out. You know what I mean? No, I literally don't know what you mean. Okay, when you're talking about dissociating, what do you mean? Like, do you have like a dissociative identity disorder? Because when you're saying that you're just buzzing in and out of personalities and you're doing this and then you're done with it, Like I said, you're giving credence to exactly what I have been saying all along, and what I think is so important to impress upon people that watch this show and for people that are watching Hollywood is to realize you are dealing with incredibly conflicted souls that are desperate for attention because they are so spiritually vacuous, right? There is nothing in them that is actually fulfilled. And so they look to the outside world and they say, what can I do? How can I top what I've done before? How can I get more ridiculous? How can I be more other? How can I be more outside the bounds, so that I can get likes or shock or reaction? And she's admitting this. Like I said, it's a cry for help. What is she doing? Why is she wearing a bedazzled bottom piece to make it seem like she's a dude? If that's not a cry for attention, if that's not a girl who was brought up in Hollywood and whose brain has been completely wrongly structured, like this wrong feedback loop has been established when she was a kid, and she just is constantly looking for attention all the wrong ways. Genuinely, like I said before, even though she says that she hates me and that she would never have me on her show, I think that Kamala Harris, I think that she truly just needs someone, JoJo Siwa needs someone to guide her in the right way, and she needs a break from Hollywood. She needs a break from trying to get attention. And at the end of the day, what she needs more than anything else is God, because I am still not buying this lesbian act that she puts on. It's just extremities for the sake of attention. All right, guys, I also want to tell you about an update with the Trump assassination attempt. This is crazy. So the son of the suspect in the recent Trump assassination attempt, which is insane. It's already out of the media that, this guy just shows up with an AK-47. Some people, by the way, are commending the Secret Service team for, firing at him and missing him. I don't think that's great. But the second thing is, how on earth did this guy even get on to the golf field without having the Secret Service note him? The fact that Trump was golfing and that guy had been camping out for 12 hours, to me, sounds like a remarkable Secret Service failure. I know that Trump thanked them. In my viewpoint, I'm going, this is supposed to be the best of the best, the most elite. Don't you think they would have just surveyed the course before Trump had even gone out there and spotted this guy in the woods? Anyways, I guess I'm crazy, and I guess I have a higher bar for what I would expect. But it turns out that the son, so remember, the son spoke out. His name was Orrin Alexander Routh, and he said, my dad couldn't hurt a fly. I don't know why he said that, because as I said, his dad's records indicated otherwise. He had been arrested in the past for having weapons of mass destruction and barricading himself into a room. Well, now Orrin Routh has also been arrested. He's been arrested, and the FBI is saying that they seized multiple electronic devices in his home, and they found chats and they found messages, and that they found him in threads sharing child sexual abuse material, so child pornography. He now faces 2 charges of possessing and receiving child sexual abuse material, and is expected to appear later on Tuesday in federal court in North Carolina. Now, there's 2 ways to look at this, and I'll give you both. Some people obviously are going slam dunk every single time when you look into these people that are involved in these sorts of crimes. You look at their family, there tends to be this pattern of pornography. We spoke about pornography last week on the show and how it is this weapon to destroy men, but ultimately to control men. And the pornography is intentionally becoming more and more demented. And what it's really doing is controlling and perverting your thoughts in the end. And so people go, okay, you can look at this and this would fit the bill. But other people are saying, isn't this interesting? This happened with the Las Vegas shooter. Did the feds just drop child pornography onto his devices when they were doing this general search because they wanted to use him as the son as a tool to get the father to comply with whatever it is that they want? And it's hard because we now live in this world where I don't trust the feds, and I obviously don't trust a person is a family member of someone who just tried to assassinate Trump. So we're in this impossible situation. All we can do is deliver the facts, and the facts are that this man was arrested for child pornography. We will follow that case. We will see what is actually happening. And as I said, we have a major pornography issue in this country. And my biggest fear with all the themes that are happening in our society with children and people trying to assert that children have power over themselves and they can pick their own gender, my biggest fear has always been that inevitably it would lead to this crisis. And I am worried that my fears are being proven correct. All right, you guys, I want to tell you about American Financing because the Fed has dropped interest rates. So you need to call my friends at American Financing right now with mortgage rates in the 4s. Now is the perfect time to consolidate debt and reduce your monthly expenses. A lot of hardworking Americans have been forced to use credit cards because of the ridiculous prices at the grocery store, power, and even on childcare. That debt is expensive with credit card rates being high. But with mortgage rates dropping, now is a time to wipe that debt out. American Financing is helping homeowners just like you save over $800 a month on average. They are even closing some in as fast as 10 days. And if you start today, you may delay 2 mortgage payments. There are no upfront fees to find out how much you can save. So call American Financing today at 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. That's americanfinancing.net/Owens. Okay, Neo is making the rounds. This is interesting. A video, if you don't know Neo, he is an R&B star. Now, it has long been speculated in the media and in the rumor mill that Neo is maybe not straight. I'm not saying that that's true. I'm just saying it's long been speculated. And there's now been a video that has resurfaced of Neo having a fight with his ex-girlfriend, Sade Bagnerise. And this is from April of this year. And she was saying some stuff about Diddy. Now, there's a lot of cuss words in this, so there's a lot of beeps. But she starts yelling at him about his attendance at these freak-offs. Allegedly, take a listen.
Tell him about the freak-off, Diddy Jr. Diddy Jr., tell him about the freak-off. Tell them about the freak-off. Tell them the truth. Tell these people the truth. Oh, shut the fuck up. You don't give a fuck about none of these kids. Do y'all see a picture in this house of a kid? He don't care about these kids. All he care about is doing drugs, drinking alcohol, toes. That's what you care about. So let's go. I'm a Diddy bop the up out of here. You and your freak-off. You can get back to your freak-off in a minute. You'll be next. You'll be next. You'll be next. You'll be next. Your stories will be coming out next.
So she has since apologized for this video, and I do want to say that it's not clear if she was just upset with him, like maybe she caught him cheating on her, and then she decided to go on this Instagram Live and just start accusing him of being at these freak-offs, and maybe he wasn't, and she was just angry and saying, tell them about this, calling you Diddy, like basically just an incensed woman, and trying to make him look as he does, guilty, on the Instagram. But people are circulating this video, and they're saying that maybe it's proof that he was also engaging in the drugs and engaging in the alcohol. Now, I have not seen Neo's name in any of the documents that are pertaining to Diddy, so I think people should just hit pause before, totally believing based off of an argument between a couple that he has something to do with anything. I have not known Neo to be a person that hangs out with Diddy and his clan at all. He kind of seems to be a little bit outside of that. Again, she could have just been angry, but I wanted to cover it because it is making the rounds and people are suggesting that maybe there's more to the story and I'm going to be on top of the Diddy thing. Basically, my 2 speeds right now is like Diddy and Kamala. Kamala Harris and Diddy and Kamala. I will not let either of these things go. By the way, as an update, we still have not heard a single word from our boy LeBron James, who was definitely in the mix. Nothing also said from Jay-Z. Nothing also said from Beyonce, though I doubt Beyonce was attending any of these freak-offs. But as we know, they are kind of at the tippity top of the food chain when it comes to Black America and the people that Black America follows, and neither of them have said anything about their friend Diddy. And I want to be clear, if she was on the other foot, any of my friends were caught in this, and if I ever saw, like I did, watched Diddy beating someone on camera, right? That element, it's like he owned it. He said, yes, I did this. Cassie wrote this in her lawsuit. How do you not make a statement? Like, this is the part that I don't get. You purport to care so much about Black Americans. You purport to care so much about Black victimhood. Then when it's in your face and a friend of yours is beating a woman on camera, you stay completely mum. These people are frauds. That's the reality. These people are absolute frauds. I can't stand them. I hate the fact that I'm the one that has to deal with all the bullets of people calling me an Uncle Tom, a race trader, and a coon. And it's like, no, because I actually tell you guys the truth. And I tell you that you are following false idols. And all they do is lead you down whatever the government path that has been established at their feet. I view all of them as feds. Jay-Z, Beyonce, every person that gets up and dances with Kamala Harris and does the tidbit with the Democrats, I view them all as feds. I view them all as agents. I believe they are wealthy so that The rest of us can stay poor. And that will be your lifestyle if you keep following them and believing them and become enraged every time they tweet and tell you to be enraged from their $100 million mansions. You either wake up to the reality that these people are frauds, or you don't get to complain when you look around you and everything is a failure. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to get into your comments. First, want to remind you guys about Pure Talk. That is a cell phone company that I use, which only charges you for the data that you actually want. For just $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, plus a mobile hotspot. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile want you to believe that you need unlimited data so that they can overcharge you. But the fact is, most of you are buying way too much data, more than you will ever need. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or you can watch 10 hours of Candace Owens video. So stop overpaying for wireless and get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Switching is easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. And you can even keep your phone and your phone number. So go to puretalk.com/Owens. Again, that is puretalk.com/Owens. And you'll save an additional 50% off your first month with Pure Talk. All right, guys, you know how this works. We are going to be jumping over to Rumble to read your responses. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about Kamala Harris. Also, should add here, I am definitely going to I have to break up the $1,000 bounty because the person who got me the marriage certificate, that came in via an email, and I did not have that. And I said $1,000, and I'm going to have to break it up because there were some little tidbits that I still want to follow down the rabbit hole, but I want to make sure that every piece of information that I have is concrete. So I'm going to take it slowly, do a slow leak every single day on Kamala. But that money, I am going to give it to you guys, and I will announce who it was that gave me that information tomorrow. Again, guys, the comment section is going to be on Rumble. We're going to abandon YouTube. The reason we're doing this is because YouTube has just been particularly evil with me as of late, and we, of course, want to make sure that we're building somewhere else, just in the event that YouTube just keeps coming for my head, because all I do is tell the truth, and I don't know. Some people don't like that. I think there's some people that are fake mass reporting my YouTube page. Anyways, jumping over to Rumble now, hit the link in the bio, in the description, if you would like to follow us there.